This module is 3.7. It's AI professional orientation chatbot. And when we thought about it in C1 training, I had this feeling that it might not be so interesting for students. And thankfully, ChatGPT came meanwhile, so we don't have to worry about how interesting it's going to be. But we do have some driving questions, and it is whether an AI-based chatbot can help students choose the profession they want to follow, and what are the AI fields used for the development, and how they can create one for that purpose. The goals of the Learning and Creativity Plan are for teachers to firstly understand and then present to students the underlying technology of AI chatbots, and also to explore tools for creating one for professional orientation purposes. The ages for this target goal is 16 to 18, and it's 6 to 7 hours long. So what we want out of this is that students value the importance of using AI to support career guidance and get familiarized with cognitive intelligence. Career guidance in the era of this fast-changing employment world is crucial, of course. And we thought that engaging students in understanding how a chatbot is created to cover one of their most important needs, such as professional orientation, is something that can serve as an educational motive for them to explore the AI behind the chatbot. And why is professional orientation so important? Well, for starters, as we said before at some point, AI will create around 12 million new jobs globally across various sectors by 2025. It will take a lot of jobs, it will create a lot of other ones, and when you do the subtraction, you take this 12 million. It's not little, right? So it helps the educational planning. It means that students understand the educational requirements and qualifications needed for specific professions to pursue better academic journeys. Then it's all about job market awareness. They can prepare themselves to meet the requirements of the future employment. And of course, the career planning, which is obvious. They can explore and understand their interests, their strengths and goals, which is crucial for their effective career planning. We have 6 activities in total. The first one is an introduction, the applications and the underlying technology. The second one is the exploration of existing chatbots, such as the ChatGPT-4. Third one is exploring the AI chatbots that are specifically developed for the professional orientation. The fourth activity is to get familiar with Juicy. It's a platform to create chatbots and other kinds of such platforms, to form groups and assign roles for the design, development, and the testing steps. Activity 5 will be to develop their own chatbot that will provide professional orientation. And the last one will be to present it to everyone, to classmates and teachers. So the first one, it's an introduction. They can use, of course, this presentation as a sample to actually introduce chatbots and the applications to the students. Of course, we all know what it is. It is a computer program that uses AI techniques. They are designed to understand and respond to user queries and engage in natural language conversation. Okay, we understand that. It can be done with text or voice. But what's behind that? Or where is it currently used? So far, we can see a lot of applications of chatbots in customer support, e-commerce, healthcare, banking, and finance. But as we said in the beginning, the most well-known is chatbots that are created like ChatGPT-4. And we have an example here for healthcare, which is rather interesting because it's very recent. It's called MedPalm 2. It's trained to expertly answer medical questions in order to be widely used by clinicians. And this was actually released in April 2023. And the Wall Street Journal, they said that they started just a few days ago, they started testing it in the very well-known hospital, Mayo Clinic. So it's something that's really vibrant right now and very much promising for the medical applications. But what is behind chatbots? So typically, the underlying technology relies on machine learning algorithms, natural language processing, and deep learning. They're trained on large, and when we say large, it is sometimes a petabyte scale datasets of human-generated conversations and texts, allowing them to learn patterns and understand language nuances and generate relevant responses.
What is nuances?
It's the intuition that you have. It's the feeling that you have.
Intuition.
Yeah, some sort of intuition. So when we say machine learning in chatbots, we actually refer to terms that we have heard through this training, which is supervised learning, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. It's these three keywords, but teachers have to be familiarized with these terms and be able to explain, at least at a high level, to the student what are these three terms. So to begin with, supervised learning is a machine learning technique where a model learns to make predictions or classify data by being trained on labeled data. What it means, labeled data? For example, you have a doctor who can actually give you a label for a cough. I think we've talked about it before. We had on our research university this application that could identify COVID cough. So it was very essential for us to have a ground truth as doctors saying that this cough goes to pneumonia, this cough goes to asthma. So categorize and label the data. And then there is unsupervised learning, where a model learns patterns and structures in data without given explicit labels or without guidance. And we can have an example of that. How is it magic? How does it do that? You can consider a data set for patients where you have symptoms, medical test results, and other information like demographic, for example. Using unsupervised learning techniques, the data can be analyzed to identify groups or clusters of patients that have similar characteristics. And when you have that, you can actually tailor personalized treatments. But what about
Yes, these characteristics are measured by numbers or other things?
No, it could be, you mean by numbers, like
Observation.
Observations. Yeah, it could be observations, but it also could be that, for example, when you're searching for cancer, then you have a specific type of cells that are shown in the diagnosis of cancer, for example. Or when you're searching for patients that have depression in psychiatry, there are symptoms that imply that the patient has depression. So usually there are characteristics that are common between groups under the supervision of the algorithm, and then they can create these classes.
Coded with numbers. Yes.
Yeah,
They will analyze it.
to be able to analyze, yeah. But it can be more than that.
I have a good story about mathematics saving lives.
Okay. What about reinforcement learning, which is the core of ChatGPT 4, for example? Reinforcement learning involves training an agent to make a sequence of decisions in an environment in order to maximize a reward, cumulative reward. So it is based on trial and error, and you get rewards or punishments. And the applications are, here are friends from Portal, for games, for robotics, recommendation systems, autonomous vehicles, and much more. And it is a part of Link. Why? Because it learns optimal behaviors in complex and dynamic environments. When it comes to natural language processing, we do know that again, but the teacher has to be able to identify the subfields of NLP. So NLP can include speech recognition, language understanding, language generation, and sentiment analysis. It enables the chatbots to understand and process user input and generate appropriate responses. Moving on to deep learning, it's a subset of machine learning that utilizes the ANN, the artificial neural networks, and particularly the deep neural networks. And a subfield of this is recurrent neural networks and transformers that are employed to process and understand sequential data such as text input. They enable the chatbots to handle context. It's not so straightforward, right? The context of the question. To maintain the conversation history, like all this, like ChatGPT-4 does, and to generate more coherent responses. So to understand a bit more, the deep neural networks are inspired, as we have said before in C1 training, from the human brain. And it attempts to mimic the way the neurons work in the brain process. The human brain consists of billions of interconnected neurons that transmit the electrical signals to transform the information. Similarly, the deep neural networks consist of interconnected artificial neurons, called nodes, organized into layers. And each node receives an input signal, performs an operation, mathematical operation, and passes the output to the next layer. Latest GPT-4 is said to be based on 8 models with 220 billion parameters for a total of 101.76 trillion parameters. Do the connection over here with your simple neural network in your head. So moving on to the next activity for the students will be to explore the existing ones. The chatbots that we have, like the GPT-4. It's generated pre-trained transformer. It is designed to human-like text to analyze it and trained in vast amounts, petabytes of information, enabling to understand and generate coherent and contextually relevant responses. And it also uses the transformer architecture. It's based on 3.75, I think, ChatGPT 3.5, which allows it to process and generate text by paying attention to different parts of the input sequence. And it is trained on the reinforcement learning that we explained before, where human trainers, and they rank the model for various prompts. Some facts: it was released on March 2023. 5 days afterwards, 1 million users. 2 months afterwards, 100 million users. So you can understand. It's an amazing, fast-growing consumer market. And we actually included in the Learning and Creativity Plan the day it was released. The activity 3, here we have a collection of the existing professional orientation chatbot, or chatbots that can be used specifically for the professional orientation. There are some nice examples here, and there's also at the end BART, which today they announced that it's going to also support the Greek language, which is good for the Greeks. And it also we can also import images. It's not only text. The following activity would be to explore tools that the students can actually use to develop a chatbot. So there's Juicy. It's a well-known platform that you can use in order to develop one. There's Floxo and Bossify, which all are based in codeless development, so it's not needed to have coding or programming knowledge for. But what are the challenges when it comes to chatbots? It's the understanding of the natural language to begin with. So improving accuracy and context awareness and handling ambiguity and complex queries. And also, last but not least, is the ethical considerations to ensure that we have unbiased use of this chatbot. And it's important for teachers to be aware of this aspect because we are in a very critical point when it comes to skepticism for AI use. And we are dealing with kids here, with students, right? So it's even more important for us to actually discuss. So here we see it's the famous 22-word statement that they have signed Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, for those of you who don't know, who owns ChatGPT, Jeffrey Hinton, who's the father of deep learning, CEO of DeepMind, Bill Gates, and a lot of other very well-known and top AI researchers and engineers and CEOs. So they have issued a new warning about this existential threat that they believe AI poses to humanity. And this is the 22-word statement that they have signed. It says, mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other associated scale risks, such as pandemics and nuclear war. So is it worth it to mention it to students? Yeah, it is. Even though it sounds a bit frightening and intimidating, you do have to discuss this with the students so that they're aware that we are in a critical point in history where the use of AI should be discussed and regulations should come. So as an extra activity in the framework of this whole learning and creativity plan, the teachers can give an extra, let's say, task to the students to discuss with them how an AI chatbot could be biased. For instance, if a chatbot suggests certain careers when it comes to the professional orientation chatbot are more suitable based on gender, ethnicity, or other protected characteristics, then it could reinforce stereotypes and limit opportunities. So it's something that students can actually explore, discuss, and just keep in mind in order to include that or not to their development, to be sure that they have covered at least a part of unbiased, let's say, development. The last thing I want to talk about is one of the new professions that AI has created, and it's called prompt engineering. I don't know if you've heard of it. I think Yanis told us to do that the other day, at least from a text level, because there's also code input. So you can prompt engineer with code. But it's considered to be the #1 job of the future, according to the World Economic Forum. Can you process that as an information? So prompt engineering, not coding, not programming, not AI, whatever, it's prompt engineering. So it means that we need people or code to optimize the textual input to effectively communicate with large language models. Because, okay, we have that. We have the version 4. In a few months from now, we'll have 5, 6, I don't know. But the thing is how you can actually optimize your prompts to use it in the maximum of its capacity.
What do you mean by large language?
So this is a slide that I didn't include, but it's basically what ChatGPT-4 is. Large language models are the language models that are based on enormous amount of data, like petabytes, as we said before. And there are several components. They underlie the technology that we said before. And this is
like a smart search engine.
It is what ChatGPT-4 is. It is what a language model is, that it's able to process this enormous amount of data in a contextual framework. And yeah, so
there's logic in there also.
it is trained on input data that are from all over the internet. So it is trained, it has parameters, as we said before, so many that it can actually create weights for information. So it can somehow detect the fake news. It can also give you these nuances that we talked about before. This intuition, it's not just information thrown out of a...
This place content is found somewhere actually.
Sam Altman, the phrase that is written here. He says it's amazing, it's an amazingly high level skill, he says, to be able to be a prompt engineer, okay? But
I can just need that or just because this could be like what I said earlier in micro-credential. Certification.
yeah, it could be micro-credentialized, let's say. Yeah, but I guess what they have, because if you see now interviews of people inside OpenAI, they are actually considering this to be like the top one priority, to have a really good prompt engineer. And it's something that sounds really easy to be able to give just the right prompt, the optimal prompts, but it's so hard, and it actually requires this human intelligence that we're talking about.
It's a confidence.
It is a confidence, it is an intuition, it's a whole life of memories and, you know, what makes us human, I would say. So that's why it's needed.
I don't agree it's number one. So future probably number two. Number one,
you think number one is microelectronics? That's why our project should be accepted.
Yes.
Our next project should be accepted, right? But yeah, but this is one, you know, one option, one, let's say, side of the story. And there is also Harvard coming up a few days ago, and they said, they released a report, and they said, okay, prompt engineering is very, very much appreciated, and it's very much needed, but what is more enduring and very important skill for us for the future is problem formulation. So the ability to identify and analyze problems. And they think that this is the most important, let's say, profession of the future. So if you can actually see these two options here, nothing is really linked, very much linked to skills that are hard, right? Can you actually spot that? Because I was trying to find a lot of sources, and I was trying to search what I was going to tell you when it comes to this profession of the future. And then I saw this review from Harvard, and they said, yeah, it's important, but then you have the ability to identify and analyze problems. Yeah, but all these skills that they're mentioning, they're related to soft skills of humans. It's not something that you have done so far with AI, right?
I don't think we should be talking about justice and social anymore.
Yeah.
There's no difference. Either you for the more hard skills or you for the more soft skills, in a sense.
In my mind, what to differentiate the two are the human
maybe
side.
prompt skills.
Yeah.
In the future.
Prompt skills?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a skill. Yeah.
A very naive question.
Yeah.
Will it be possible that artificial intelligence creature might be created, but will can't do all the jobs that we are talking about? So this is not going to be a job for humans.
Also prompt.
Prompt.
Yes.
It's a very naive question, but I mean, it's an issue that.
Well, it's not naive at all. It's very to the point because it has to do with why these professions are important and why do all these high-level AI people think they are so important. So it is not that simple as it sounds. So as I told you before, a prompt could be easy for you to do now. I did it yesterday with the model that Lucas presented. So yeah, you go ahead and you put on prompts, but how can you actually define what's the optimum way for the prompt engineering? What's the optimum text, the optimum way for you to retrieve and gain the maximum capability of these tools? Is the question. When it comes to your question, I have no idea where, when, or if it will happen, but I'm pretty sure it will. And that's why we do need the regulation part set up real quick, because then if you figure out a way to make the most out of it at 100% of its capabilities, then imagine how unlimited are the types of usage. The last activities I haven't included in a slide because I've already mentioned it would be for students to actually go ahead and experiment with these tools that I have referenced in my previous slides. So they can go and form the groups, they can actually try to develop one and then present it to the classroom.
When you say you have to build a chatbot, I think I try to understand what you mean. You mean you will have to train this chatbot for the data we want to be trained.
Yeah. For example, think about this. If you want to take the most out of a chatbot that is targeted for medical purposes, in order to identify pneumonia in CT scans, for example, are you going to give it CT scans? I think yes, you are. So you have to create the data set, the input data set for the training model in order to get the most out of it, right? So in the same sense, for the task that students are called here to do, for the professional orientation task, yes, go ahead and search in the databases that I've also referenced in my slides to find professions, to find skills that are related to these professions, applications, new professions that we didn't know so far, and try to train the model on these data.
What type of data can we input in this chatbot?
There are databases that I have included also in the Word document that accompanies this presentation. There are open databases that you can go ahead and take a lot of the already correlated skills with professions. And then you can go ahead and test the Judy platform that I've mentioned, or some other tools that are rather good, I would say. But it's just to give them the feeling, that they have the basic understanding that these things can actually be trained on something that's real and can give them the answers to help them with one of their most, I would say, important needs, to choose the profession they want to follow.
If I have an idea to train chatbot from something else, what kind of data can I give the chatbot? Are there any, let's say, PDF files, Excel files?
This is about the format that you're mentioning.
Yeah.
You should be worried more about the type data. So the format is okay. It could be CSV, it could be PDF. It depends on how you actually process, how you set it up, your algorithm to get the input. It could take input images. It could take, and images, you have PNG, you have JPEG, you have whatever. So don't worry about the format. Worry about the type. So if you are targeting for something that goes for medicine, then you should go and search for datasets that are targeted for medicine. If you go for generative AI, if you want to create the next version of ChatGPT, then you should go to the whole world, to the internet, and try to train as much data as you can possibly do. That's it.
Can you give us an example how to do this?
On the duty, for example. So, first of all, when you asked before about the database, this is one that can be used. It's called Career Village. So, it actually gives the students real professions and it can answer their career-related questions. It's a very good, let's say, input that they can use. And then, okay, this was a backup slide, so you cannot see anything. But since you asked, these are, let's say, 8 simple steps that they can follow in order to use these platforms. So the first one was, as we said, define the purpose. What do I want? I want to use it for what? To cure cancer, to just talk with the chatbot for entertainment. Then you have to plan the features that you want to have, to choose the framework that you're going to use, design the flow. You have to acquire, of course, and prepare the data because there most probably going to be a lot of noise. This is also a very important step when you have the input data to denoise your data. And then you will start building and training. And also there is validation step, which is very crucial. And the testing step, where you actually interact. Yeah.
Can we do it now?
Huh?
Online?
Right now, no.
No.
It needs like a lot of time for you to actually take in the input data, put it in, discuss what features you want to do. But it can be done in like 2 hours, I would say. After.
I just had an application for an application. If you make it, you become a millionaire.
Okay.
Make an application that for hundreds.
For?
Hundreds. We are in a region. There is an application that takes the shooting from one hand, the shooting from another, gives me a message. Some people are shooting from this direction. If they miss the bird, it means the bird will come to me. It gives me a warning that maybe the bird is flying towards me or the previous one I missed it. So it increases my chances to be ready to shoot a bird.
Okay, so like
Or maybe a rabbit.
detecting your yes, but you know what? This is what I was going to tell you. You have to think about the target audience. How many are there? There are. But you know why this is so successful? Because it's for the general public. Because it might be that a huge portion of the population that you're mentioning is not even interested in hunting. But
these artificial intelligence could be used also for violence. We need war.
Yeah, this is where we go to dangerous stuff.
They already use it in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Something more trivial, sorry.
Yeah.
It's a very nice idea, the creation of students of the chatbot. Do we have a practice, something that is applied or it is implemented this idea as a link to
Yes, we do have several links here, and we also have links in the Word document that I
I
have.
know
Yeah.
about this. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's very.
I was just going to make a suggestion because I think it's very relevant to what your podcast. Something we do with chatbots and it's based on ChatGPT.
WordPress.
The models podcast.
Okay.
But the advantage is, for instance, we'll give you the example of using, let's say that we have a few websites with career advice, for instance.
Okay.
It's all process oriented, so no code, you can do it connect with us and so on. And then it's very easy, for instance, to have a website online to the sources. Then you just have to find the remote for that.
Oh, that's great. I will add it up.
You can also
I didn't know it had that kind of application. I thought it was just for development, for web.
you can do it freely, but it has a paid version of
Okay, that's really great. Yeah, yeah.
Αυτό δεν θέλει μπαταρία.
Yes, yes,
Θα το
yes.
κάνουμε το παιδί. Ναι, ναι, ρε παιδί, εντάξει, δεν αγχώνομαι. Stop.
Any other question? The voice is very well.
We have this in the,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.